After the accident, Billionaire CEO pretended to be unconscious, shocked by what his fiancée said. The machines breathe for him. Caleb Rourke hears the rhythm first, a mechanical inhale, a pause and exhale that isn't his own. His chest rises without effort. His lungs fill without instruction. Somewhere beyond the haze, a monitor beeps in steady intervals, counting time he cannot measure. He tries to open his eyes. Nothing. He tries to move his hand. Nothing. His body refuses every command, locked in a stillness so complete it feels like burial. But his mind churns, sharp and awake, trapped inside a shell that will not obey. The antiseptic smell burns faintly in his nostrils. The cotton sheets press against his skin. He feels the weight of a thin blanket across his legs, the cool air from a vent somewhere to his left. He is not unconscious. He is imprisoned. Footsteps approach from the hallway, soft soles on polished floors. A nurse enters. He hears the rustle of scrubs, the clink of metal instruments on a tray. She adjusts something near his arm. The 4-line tugs slightly at his vein. Still no response, she murmurs to someone else in the room. Vitals are stable, a man replies. His voice is clipped, professional. But brain activity's inconsistent with full sedation. Should we adjust the dosage? Pause. Caleb's pulse quickens, though the monitor betrays nothing unusual. Let's hold, the man says. Dr. Langston wants to run another scan in the morning. The nurse hums in agreement. They leave together, their voices fading into the corridor. Silence returns. Caleb's thoughts spiral inward. The crash comes back in fragments. Headlights, rain, the SUV hydroplaning across 2 lanes. He remembers the impact, the sound of metal crumpling, then the airbag. He remembers the paramedics cutting him free, their voices urgent but distant, like a radio station losing signal. But he doesn't remember choosing this. He doesn't remember agreeing to be suspended between life and performance. Hours pass. Maybe days. Time loses meaning when you cannot move, cannot speak, cannot confirm your own existence to the people standing over you. Caleb drifts in and out of awareness, catching fragments of conversation, the shuffle of visitors who don't stay long. Then he hears her. Maribel knocks. Her heels click against the tile with the precision of a metronome. She enters the room and stops near the foot of his bed. Before we dive deeper, we will like to know where you are watching from. Is it New York, California, or London? Do let us know in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button to enjoy more stories like this. He cannot see her, but he knows the way she stands, shoulders back, chin slightly raised, the posture of someone who has spent years being photographed. She moves closer. Her hand wraps around his, warm and deliberate. She leans down, her breath brushing his ear. You always hated hospitals, she whispers. Her voice is soft, almost tender. The kind of tone she used when they first met, back when her smile still reached her eyes. Caleb waits. I know you can't hear me, she continues, quieter now. But I need to say this. Pause. The monitor beeps. The machines hum. I gave up everything for you. The words land with weight, each syllable deliberate. My career. My friends. The life I had before you decided I was the right accessory for your empire. Her grip tightens slightly. I played the part, Caleb. I smiled at investors. I hosted dinners. I pretended I loved your silence, your distance. Caleb's mind screams, but his body remains still. And now you're here, she says. Unconscious, dependent, helpless. She exhales, slow and measured. You don't have to wake up, you know? The room seems to constrict. The air thickens. If you stay like this, everything gets simpler. She laughs, soft and bitter. Caleb feels his fingers twitch beneath her hand. She doesn't notice. I don't want you to suffer, Maribel continues. I just want this to be over. She leans closer, her lips near his temple. I hope you don't wake up. She stands, adjusts her coat, smooths her hair. Then she turns and walks out, her heels clicking in perfect rhythm until the sound disappears entirely. The machines keep breathing. Caleb Rourke lies in the silence, fully awake, and realizes the crash wasn't the worst thing that happened to him. The woman he trusted just told him she wants him gone. If you are still watching, comment, I'm still here. And share this story with someone you know needs to hear it. Maribel returns the next morning with coffee. She carries 2 cups, though only one will be consumed. The gesture is deliberate, performative, timed perfectly for the arrival of the day shift nurse. She sets both cups on the small table near the window, her expression carefully arranged into something that resembles grief. Any change? She asks, her voice soft and strained. The nurse shakes her head. Not yet. but his vitals are strong. That's a good sign. Maribel nods, pressing her fingers to her lips as if holding back emotion. I just keep thinking he'll open his eyes and this nightmare will be over. The nurse offers a sympathetic smile. He knows you're here. I'm sure of it. Maribel takes Caleb's hand, bowing her head as though in prayer. The nurse adjusts the four, checks the monitors, then excuses herself to attend to other patients. The door clicks shut. The moment the latch catches, Maribel's posture shifts. She releases his hand, sits back in the chair, crosses her legs, picks up her coffee and takes a slow sip, scrolling through her phone with her free hand. You should see the messages, she says casually, not looking at him. Everyone's so concerned. Your board members, your investors, even that assistant you barely acknowledged. They're all sending flowers and prayers and empty words. She scrolls further, her tone flat. They're already circling, of course, trying to figure out what happens if you don't recover, positioning themselves for the power shift. She pauses, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. It's almost impressive how quickly loyalty evaporates when money's involved. Caleb's mind thrashes against the stillness of his body. He wants to scream, to grab her, to demand she stop pretending. But his fingers remain motionless. His throat makes no sound. Maribel sets her phone down and leans forward, elbows on her knees, studying his face like a curator examining a painting. You really can't hear me, can you? She murmurs. You're just gone. Locked away somewhere I can't reach. She tilts her head, considering. I used to think you were cold because you were brilliant, that your distance was the price of your success. But the truth is you were just empty. Her voice hardens. You built an empire and forgot to build a life. And now look at you. She stands, crossing to the window. The morning light filters through the blinds, casting lines across her face. I spent 3 years convincing myself I loved you, she says. 3 years pretending your indifference didn't cut me. 3 years smiling through every dismissal, every moment you chose your company over me. She turns back to face him. And the sickest part? I stayed because I thought one day you'd see me. Really see me. Her laugh is sharp and humorless. But you never did. And now you never will. She moves back to his bedside, her expression unreadable. The lawyers called yesterday, she says, matter of fact. They're accelerating the trust review. If you're incapacitated for more than 30 days, the interim board takes full control. Your assets go into a managed fund. And I, as your fiancé, retain access to the estate. She picks up her coffee again, taking another sip. It's almost poetic, isn't it? You spent your whole life controlling everything, and now you're the one being managed. Caleb's heart rate spikes. The monitor reflects the change, a sudden jump in rhythm. Maribel glances at the screen, her brow furrowing slightly. She watches the numbers for a moment, then shakes her head. Just a glitch, she mutters. She reaches for her purse, pulling out her phone. A text comes through. She reads it, her jaw tightening. They want to schedule a press conference, she says, to reassure the investors. They want me to stand in front of cameras and talk about how hopeful I am. How strong you are. How we're facing this together. She types a quick response, then drops the phone back into her bag. I'll do it, of course. I'll play the devastated fiancé. I'll wear something understated and speak in a trembling voice and let them photograph my tears. She looks at him again, her gaze cold. Because that's what I do, Caleb. I perform. The door opens. The nurse returns with a doctor, a middle-aged man in a white coat, his expression serious but not unkind. Maribel's face transforms instantly. Her eyes glisten. Her shoulders slump. She steps toward the doctor, her voice breaking. Is there any change? Anything at all? The doctor glances at the monitors, then back at her. His vitals are stable. Brain activity shows signs of responsiveness, but we're not seeing voluntary movement yet. It's still too early to predict outcomes. But there's hope, she asks, her voice desperate. There's always hope, the doctor replies gently. Maribel nods, covering her mouth with her hand as if overcome. The doctor places a reassuring hand on her shoulder before leaving the room. The nurse lingers for a moment, offering another sympathetic smile, then follows. The door closes. Maribel exhales slowly, drops the act, returns to the chair. God, I'm exhausted, she mutters, rubbing her temples. She stands, gathering her things. Before she leaves, she leans down one last time, her voice barely above a whisper. I meant what I said yesterday. I hope you don't wake up. Because if you do, everything gets messy. And I've worked too hard to let you ruin this for me. She kisses his forehead, a gesture so clinical it feels like mockery. Then she's gone. Caleb lies in the silence, the machines breathing for him, the monitors tracking a life he cannot claim. And for the first time since the crash, he makes a decision. He will not wake. Not yet. Not until he knows exactly who he's waking up to fight. When survival means staying silent, how long would you wait? Do let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Brain activities inconsistent with coma patterns. Dr. Langston's voice cuts through the morning quiet. Caleb hears the rustle of papers, the click of a pen. Two other doctors stand at the foot of his bed, their voices low and clinical. Could be residual response, one of them says. Autonomic nervous system compensating for trauma. Or he's more aware than we think, Dr. Langston counters. Pause. Caleb's pulse stays even, controlled. He's learned to mask the spikes, to keep his body from betraying the truth screaming inside his skull. If he's aware, why no voluntary movement? The second doctor asks. Locked-in syndrome is rare but documented. Or partial sedation retention. We won't know until we taper the medication. And if we do that prematurely? Then we risk destabilizing him. They debate around him like he's a case study, a puzzle to solve rather than a man listening to every word. Caleb absorbs it all. The medical jargon. The uncertainty. The timeline they're proposing. Dr. Langston moves closer, shining a light into Caleb's eyes. The brightness sears through the darkness, but Caleb doesn't flinch. Doesn't blink. Doesn't give them anything. Pupils reactive, Dr. Langston mutters. But no tracking. The light disappears. Footsteps retreat. The doctors leave, their conversation fading into the hallway. Caleb remains still. He's made his choice. Silence is no longer a prison. It's a weapon. Every person who enters this room believes he's gone, suspended somewhere beyond reach. And that belief makes them careless. They speak freely. They reveal things they would never say if they thought he could hear. Maribel proved that. The door opens again. Caleb braces for another nurse, another round of vitals and adjustments. Instead, he hears a voice he doesn't recognize, deep, authoritative, impatient. Is he going to wake up or not? We can't predict that with certainty, Dr. Langston replies, his tone measured. The board needs answers. We have investors calling every hour, media camping outside, and a company worth billions in limbo. I understand the pressure, Mr. Vance, but medicine doesn't operate on corporate timelines. Vance. Caleb knows the name. Dominic Vance. Senior board member. The man who fought him on the last merger, who questioned every expansion, who smiled in meetings and undermined him in private emails. How long until we can declare him incapacitated? Vance asks. The question hangs in the air like a verdict. Legally, that's not my call, Dr. Langston says. But if there's no improvement in 30 days, the trust provisions activate automatically. 30 days, Vance repeats as if calculating. And his fiancée retains authority until then? As next of kin, yes. Vance makes a sound, half laugh, half scoff. That should be interesting. Dr. Langston doesn't respond. Vance leaves without another word, his footsteps sharp and deliberate. Caleb's mind churns. 30 days. That's the clock. That's how long he has before everything he built transfers to people who want him erased. Maribel gets access to the estate. Vance gets control of the board. And Caleb becomes a memory, a cautionary tale about working too hard and trusting too little. Unless he stays exactly where he is. The hours crawl. Nurses rotate through. A physical therapist moves his limbs to prevent atrophy, bending his arms and legs with mechanical efficiency. Caleb feels every movement but gives nothing back. No resistance. No response. Just the limp compliance of a body without a mind. Evening comes. The hospital quiets. Visitors leave. The hallway lights dim. Caleb waits. He's learned the rhythm of this place. The shift changes, the medication rounds, the gaps between check-ins. He knows when he's alone and when he's being watched. He knows the sound of footsteps that matter and the ones that don't. Tonight, the footsteps are soft. Hesitant. Someone enters the room but doesn't approach the bed immediately. Caleb hears the faint scrape of a cart, the muted clink of cleaning supplies. A janitor maybe. Or a night shift worker finishing rounds. The person moves slowly, methodically. There's no urgency, no clinical efficiency. Just quiet presence. Then she speaks. I don't know if you can hear me. The voice is older, worn smooth by years. Not a doctor. Not a nurse. Someone else entirely. But I'm going to talk anyway, she continues. Because my husband couldn't speak at the end either. And I regret every moment I stayed silent. Caleb listens, his attention sharpening. They told me he was gone, she says softly. The doctors. They said his brain wasn't working right, that he couldn't understand anything. But I knew better. I could see it in his eyes. He was still there. She moves closer. Caleb feels her presence near the bed, feels the air shift as she adjusts his blanket. You're still here too, she says, her voice certain. I don't need a machine to tell me that. For the first time since the crash, Caleb feels something crack open inside him. Not hope exactly, but recognition. This woman, whoever she is, sees what everyone else has missed. She hums quietly, a melody he doesn't recognize. Then she leaves, her footsteps fading into the corridor. Caleb lies in the darkness, the machines breathing for him, the monitors tracking a life he's chosen to withhold. And for the first time he wonders if staying silent might not be enough. Because someone just proved that the truth doesn't need words to be heard. Comment how you feel about this. Don't forget to like and share if this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat. The woman returns the next night at the same time. Caleb hears the cart before he hears her, the soft rattle of wheels on tile, the faint splash of water in a bucket. She moves through the room with the same quiet efficiency, wiping down surfaces, straightening chairs, emptying the small trash bin near the door. She doesn't speak right away. Caleb waits, his awareness fixed on her presence. He's learned to track movement by sound alone, to build a mental map of the room based on footsteps and the rustle of fabric. She's older, he knows that much. Her movements are slower, more deliberate, but steady. Practiced. She stops near his bed. Good evening, she says as though he might answer. I'm Elma. I clean this wing most nights. Figured I should introduce myself, seeing as we're spending time together. Her tone is warm, conversational. Not performative like Maribel's. Not clinical like the doctors. Just honest. I've been doing this job for 11 years, she continues, wiping down the bedside table. Seen a lot of people come through here. Some make it out. Some don't. But the ones who do, they're usually the stubborn ones. The ones who refuse to let go. She adjusts the angle of the monitor so it's not facing him directly. I think you're stubborn, she says. I can tell. Caleb's pulse stays steady, but something shifts inside him. This woman talks to him like he's a person, not a problem to solve or an asset to manage. My husband Terrence, he had a stroke 8 years ago, Elma says, her voice softening. Doctors said he wouldn't recover. Said his brain was too damaged, that we should start thinking about comfort care. She pauses, her hand resting briefly on the bed rail. But I knew him. I knew the way he squeezed my hand even when he couldn't talk. I knew the way he looked at me even when his eyes couldn't focus right. He was still there. Her voice catches slightly. And I wasn't going to give up on him just because the machine said I should. She moves to the window, adjusting the blinds to let in a sliver of moonlight. He lived another 2 years after that stroke, she says. Not the life we planned, but a life. We had time. And I'm grateful for every second, even the hard ones. Caleb listens, absorbing every word. He spent his entire career surrounded by people who measure value in profit margins and quarterly reports. This woman measures it in presence. In stubbornness. In refusing to look away when everyone else does. I'm not saying you're going to wake up tomorrow, Elma continues, turning back toward him. I'm just saying you're still here. And that matters. She finishes her work in silence, humming the same melody from the night before. Then she leaves, pushing her cart down the hallway. Caleb lies in the darkness, replaying her words. The next night, she returns again. Evening, she says, as if picking up a conversation they've been having for years. Cold out there tonight. Winter's coming early this year. She works quietly, moving through her routine with the same steady rhythm. Caleb has started to anticipate her arrivals, to listen for the rattle of her cart in the hallway. My granddaughter graduated college last spring, Elma says, wiping down the monitor. First one in the family. I worked 3 jobs to help her through. Told her education's the one thing nobody can take from you. She straightens, pressing a hand to her lower back. She got a job in marketing now. Good salary. Benefits. She keeps telling me I can retire, that she'll help me out. But I like working. Gives me purpose. She glances at Caleb, though he cannot see her. People think cleaning's beneath them, she says. Like it's work for people who couldn't do anything else. But I see things other folks miss. I hear things. I notice when someone's struggling, when someone's scared. That's worth something. She adjusts his blanket again, smoothing the fabric with care. You're scared, she says quietly. I can tell. Whatever happened to you, it wasn't just the accident. There's something else. Caleb's chest tightens. She's right. She's completely right. It's okay to be scared, Elma continues. But don't let it keep you locked away. The world needs people who refuse to quit, even when quitting seems easier. She hums her melody again, softer this time. Then she leaves. Caleb drifts in the silence, her words echoing in his mind. 3 nights later, Maribel returns. It's late, past visiting hours. She enters the room quietly, her heels muted against the tile. Caleb tenses, though his body shows no sign of it. Maribel doesn't sit. She paces near the window, her phone pressed to her ear. I don't care what the optics are, she hisses. If he wakes up, everything falls apart. Do you understand that? Pause. She's listening to someone on the other end, her jaw tight. No, I'm not being paranoid. The trust provisions are clear. 30 days of incapacity and the interim board takes over. I get access to the estate. But if he wakes up before then? She stops mid-sentence, her voice dropping lower. Just delay the evaluation. Find a reason. Buy me 2 more weeks. Caleb's mind races. She's not just hoping he stays unconscious. She's actively working to keep him here. Maribel ends the call. She stands at the window for a long moment, her silhouette sharp against the glass. Then she leaves without another word. Caleb lies in the darkness, his pulse finally betraying him. The monitor spikes. Moments later, the door opens again. Elma pushes her cart inside, humming softly. She glances at the monitor, her brow furrowing. Heart rate's up, she murmurs, moving closer. Something's wrong. She looks at Caleb, really looks at him, her eyes searching his face. You heard something, didn't you? Caleb's pulse climbs higher. Elma's expression hardens. She steps back, her gaze shifting to the door Maribel just walked through. Lord have mercy, she whispers. If this is giving you chills, hit subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Elma doesn't move for a full 10 seconds. She stands at the foot of Caleb's bed, staring at the monitor as his heart rate slowly stabilizes. Her wrinkled hands grip the rail, knuckles pale against the metal. She's seen enough in this hospital to know when something's wrong. And right now, everything is wrong. She glances toward the door, then back at Caleb. You heard her, Elma says quietly. Didn't you? Caleb's pulse jumps again. Just once. But it's enough. Elma exhales, shaking her head. Sweet Jesus. She moves to the chair beside his bed and sits, her movements slower than usual. For a long moment she doesn't speak. Just sits there, her hands folded in her lap, her gaze distant. I don't know what to do with this, she admits. I'm just a cleaner. Nobody listens to people like me. She looks at him again, her eyes searching his face for something she can't name. But I can't pretend I didn't hear what I just heard. And I can't pretend you're not aware. She stands, pacing near the window. Her mind is working, turning over options, consequences, risks. If I say something, they'll ask how I know. They'll want proof. And I don't have any. She presses her fingers to her temples. But if I don't say something, and that woman does whatever she's planning? She stops mid-sentence, her gaze snapping back to Caleb. You're in danger, she says, her voice firm. Real danger. And I'm the only one who knows. The weight of that realization settles over the room like a storm cloud. Elma crosses back to his bedside. She takes his hand, her touch warm and steady. I don't know if you can understand me, she says. But if you can, I need you to know something. I'm not going to let her hurt you. I don't care who believes me. I don't care if they think I'm crazy. I'm going to do something. She squeezes his hand once, then lets go. I'll be back tomorrow night, she says. And I'm going to figure this out. She leaves, pushing her cart down the hallway with more purpose than usual. Caleb lies in the darkness, his mind racing. Elma hurt. She knows. And now she's the only thing standing between him and whatever Maribel is planning. The next night, Elma doesn't come alone. Caleb hears 2 sets of footsteps, one familiar, one not. The cart rattles into the room, followed by a second presence that doesn't belong. This is the patient? A woman's voice asks. Younger. Clip. Professional. Yes, ma'am, Elma replies. Room 407. Caleb Rourke. And you're sure about what you heard? Elma hesitates. I know how it sounds, but I was here. I heard her on the phone. She said something about delaying an evaluation, about him waking up being a problem. The other woman moves closer to the bed. Caleb hears the rustle of fabric, the faint click of a pen. I'm Shauna Hayes, she says, though Caleb cannot respond. I'm with hospital administration. Ms. Rios brought a concern to my attention, and I'm required to follow up. She pauses, reviewing something. A chart, maybe, or notes on a tablet. His fiancée has been here multiple times, Shauna continues. All visits logged. Nothing unusual flagged by staff. That's because nobody's paying attention, Elma says, her voice edged with frustration. She acts one way when people are watching and another way when they're not. Do you have any evidence of this? Silence. Ms. Rios, without evidence I can't. Check the recordings, Elma interrupts. This hospital has cameras in the hallways. Audio logs for ICU rooms. Check them. Shauna exhales slowly. We don't record audio in patient rooms. Privacy laws. But you have hallway footage. Yes. Then check it. See when she comes, how long she stays, who she talks to. Shauna doesn't respond immediately. Caleb can almost hear her weighing the options. Dismiss the claim and move on, or open an investigation that could spiral into legal complications. I'll review the logs, Shauna says finally. But if there's nothing there, this conversation ends. Understood. Understood, Elma replies. Shauna leaves. Elma stays behind, her footsteps moving closer to Caleb's bed. I did what I could, she says quietly. Now we wait. She doesn't hum tonight. Doesn't talk. Just finishes her work in silence and leaves. Caleb lies in the darkness, his pulse steady but his mind screaming. 3 days later, Maribel returns. She enters the room during visiting hours this time, her expression calm and composed. A nurse accompanies her, checking vitals while Maribel stands near the window. Any improvement? Maribel asks, her voice soft and concerned. Not yet, the nurse replies. But his vitals remain stable. Maribel nods, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. I just keep hoping. The nurse offers a sympathetic smile and leaves. The moment the door closes, Maribel's expression shifts. She pulls out her phone, typing quickly. Then she crosses to Caleb's bedside, leaning down close. They're asking questions, she whispers. Someone reported something. I don't know who, but it doesn't matter. There's no proof. No recordings. Just the word of some nobody who thinks she heard something she didn't. She straightens, smoothing her hair. 2 more weeks, Caleb. That's all I need. 2 more weeks and this is done. She kisses his forehead, cold, clinical, final. Then she leaves. Caleb's pulse spikes. The monitor beeps faster. Moments later, the door opens again. Elma enters, pushing her cart. She glances at the monitor, her eyes widening. She was just here, wasn't she? Caleb's heart rate climbs higher. Elma moves quickly, pulling out her phone. She dials a number, her hands shaking slightly. Miss Hayes? It's Elma Rios. I need you to come to room 407 right now. Pause. Because his heart rate spiked the moment his fiancée left. And if that's not proof something's wrong, I don't know what is. She ends the call and looks at Caleb, her expression fierce. I'm not letting her win, she says. Not while I'm still breathing. Shauna Hayes arrives within 20 minutes. She walks into room 407 with a tablet in hand and a security officer trailing 2 steps behind. Her expression is neutral, professional, but her eyes scan the room with the focus of someone who's done this before. Ms. Rios, she says, nodding at Elma. You said there was an incident. Elma points at the monitor. Look at his heart rate. It was steady all day until she came in. The moment she left, it spiked. That's not random. Shauna studies the screen, her lips pressed into a thin line. She taps something on her tablet, pulling up records. Heart rate variability can occur for multiple reasons, she says carefully. Stress response, autonomic fluctuations, even environmental changes. Or fear, Elma counters. Fear of the person standing over him. Shauna doesn't respond immediately. She glances at the security officer, then back at Elma. I reviewed the hallway footage like you asked, Shauna says. Ms. Knox's visits are documented. She arrives during standard hours, stays an appropriate amount of time, and leaves without incident. There's no evidence of misconduct. Elma's jaw tightens. Then check deeper. Check who she's been talking to. Check her phone records if you have to. We don't have authority to access personal phone records without cause, Ms. Rios. And a heart rate spike isn't cause. Then what is? Elma's voice rises. What does it take for someone like me to be heard in a place like this? Shauna exhales slowly, her professional mask slipping just slightly. I understand your concern. But without concrete evidence, my hands are tied. Hospital policy requires. Policy? Elma interrupts, shaking her head. Always policy. Never people. Shauna closes her tablet. I'll continue monitoring the situation. If anything else arises, please report it immediately. She leaves, the security officer following. The door clicks shut. Elma stands alone in the room, her hands trembling. She moves to Caleb's bedside, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I tried," she says. "I'm sorry. I tried." Caleb's pulse stays elevated. Not panic. Not anymore. Just rage. The next morning, Maribel arrives with a lawyer. His name is Jerome Hastings. Mid-50s, tailored suit, briefcase that probably costs more than Elma makes in a month. He walks into the room like he owns it, his eyes sweeping over Caleb with cold assessment. "How long has he been like this?" Jerome asks, not bothering with pleasantries. 18 days, Maribel replies. No voluntary movement. No response to stimuli. Jerome sets his briefcase on the small table near the window and pulls out a stack of documents. The trust provisions are clear. 30 days of documented incapacity triggers the transfer. We're 12 days away. Maribel crosses her arms. And if he wakes up before then? Then the provisions don't activate. Everything stays in his control. Jerome glances at her. Which is why we need to ensure the medical evaluations reflect his current state accurately. Meaning? Meaning we need documentation that supports incapacity. No ambiguity. No room for dispute. Maribel nods slowly. Dr. Langston's been cautious. He keeps saying there's brain activity that doesn't match a typical coma. Then we need a second opinion. Someone who'll interpret the data more definitively. Jerome pulls out a business card, handing it to Maribel. Dr. Marcus Chin. He's worked with our firm before. He'll review the scans and provide an assessment. Will it hold up? It will if we need it to. Maribel takes the card, slipping it into her purse. What about the staff? There's a cleaner who's been asking questions. Jerome's expression doesn't change. What kind of questions? About my visits. About Caleb's condition. She reported something to administration. And? They reviewed it. Found nothing. But she's persistent. Jerome closes his briefcase with a sharp click. Persistent staff can be reassigned. I'll make a call. Maribel hesitates. Is that necessary? Do you want complications 12 days out? She doesn't answer. Doesn't need to. Jerome leaves first. Maribel lingers, standing at the foot of Caleb's bed. She doesn't speak this time. Just stares at him, her expression unreadable. Then she turns and walks out. Caleb lies in the silence, his mind racing. They're not just waiting for him to stay unconscious. They're manufacturing the proof they need to declare him incapacitated. And Elma, the only person who believes he's aware, is about to be removed. That night, Elma doesn't come. Caleb listens for the rattle of her cart, the soft hum of her voice. But the hallway stays quiet. A different cleaner enters instead, younger, faster, impersonal. He wipes down surfaces and leaves within 5 minutes. No conversation. No presence. Just efficiency. Hours pass. Caleb drifts in and out of awareness, the edges of consciousness blurring. Then near midnight the door opens again. It's Elma. She doesn't have her cart. Doesn't have her uniform. She's wearing street clothes, a worn coat, a scarf wrapped around her neck. She moves quickly, quietly, glancing over her shoulder before closing the door. They reassigned me, she whispers, moving to his bedside. Effective immediately. Said they needed me in a different wing. But I know what that means. She pulls a folded piece of paper from her coat pocket. I made copies of your visitor logs before they locked me out of the system. Dates, times, names. Your fiancé's been here 23 times in 18 days. Most visits during shift changes when fewer people are watching. She unfolds the paper, her hands shaking slightly. I don't know what to do with this. I don't have access anymore. I can't file another report. But I can't just walk away either. She looks at Caleb, her eyes searching his face. If you can hear me, if you're really in there, I need you to know something. I'm not giving up. I don't care if they moved me. I don't care if nobody believes me. I'm going to find someone who will. She refolds the paper and tucks it back into her pocket. I'll come back tomorrow night. Same time. And I'm bringing someone with me. She squeezes his hand once, then slips out of the room. Caleb lies in the darkness, his pulse finally steady. For the first time since the crash, he feels something other than rage or fear. He feels hope. Because Elma isn't just a witness anymore. She's a fighter. And she's not done yet. Comment how you feel about this. Don't forget to like and share if this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat. The audio file plays on a loop in Shauna Hayes' office. She sits behind her desk, headphones on, her expression tight. The recording is grainy, pieced together from security footage audio that technically shouldn't exist but was recovered from a backup server no one remembered to wipe. Maribel's voice comes through, low and tense. If he wakes up, everything falls apart. Do you understand that? Pause. The other voice is muffled, distant, but the tone is clear. Agreement. Compliance. Just delay the evaluation. Find a reason. Buy me 2 more weeks. Shauna stops the recording. Removes the headphones. Presses her fingers to her temples. Across from her sits Elma, hands folded in her lap, back straight despite the exhaustion etched into her face. How did you get this? Shauna asks quietly. I didn't, Elma replies. A friend in IT did. He owed me a favor. Shauna exhales slowly. This recording was obtained without proper authorization. It won't hold up in court. I don't care about court, Elma says. I care about that man in room 407 who's awake and nobody's listening. Shauna leans back in her chair, weighing options she doesn't want to consider. Hospital liability. Legal exposure. Career consequences. If I act on this, Shauna says carefully, I'm opening an investigation that will involve lawyers, board members, and media attention. Are you prepared for that? Elma doesn't hesitate. Are you prepared to do nothing? The question hangs in the air. Shauna picks up her phone. Dials an internal extension. This is Hayes. I need a meeting with Dr. Langston and the ethics board. Immediately. She hangs up and looks at Elma. This doesn't leave this room until I say otherwise. Understood. Elma nods. Shauna stands gathering files. Wait here. She leaves. Elma sits alone in the office, her hands trembling now that the adrenaline is fading. She's 72 years old. She spent her life invisible. And now she's about to become very, very visible. 2 hours later, the ethics board convenes in a conference room on the 3rd floor. Dr. Langston sits at the head of the table, flanked by 3 other board members and the hospital's chief legal counsel. Shauna plays the recording twice. No one speaks until it finishes. Where did this come from? The legal counsel asks. A staff member with concerns about patient welfare, Shauna replies, not naming Elma. A staff member who violated privacy protocols to obtain it, the counsel counters. A staff member who may have uncovered patient endangerment, Shauna says firmly. Dr. Langston leans forward. Assuming this recording is authentic, what exactly are we looking at? At minimum, attempted manipulation of medical evaluations, Shauna says. At worst, conspiracy to maintain incapacity for financial gain. One of the board members, a woman named Dr. Keisha Odom, speaks up. Has anyone reviewed Rourke's recent scans independently? Dr. Langston nods. I have. His brain activity has been inconsistent with full sedation for over a week. I noted it in his chart. And yet no action was taken? Dr. Odom presses. I recommended reducing sedation gradually. The order was delayed twice. By whom? Dr. Langston hesitates. The request came through Ms. Knox. She cited concerns about premature intervention causing distress. Dr. Odom exchanges a look with another board member. That's not a medical decision. That's a personal one. The legal counsel clears his throat. If we move forward with this, we need to be certain. One misstep and the hospital is liable for defamation, wrongful accusation. Or negligence if we do nothing and he's harmed, Dr. Odom interrupts. Which liability are you more comfortable with? Silence. Dr. Langston stands. I'm ordering an immediate reduction in sedation. We'll monitor his response closely. If he shows signs of voluntary awareness, we proceed from there. And Ms. Knox? Shauna asks. Her visitation access is suspended pending investigation, Dr. Langston says. Security will be notified. The legal counsel starts to object, but Dr. Odom cuts him off. We're done debating. Let's move. The meeting ends. Shauna walks back to her office, her phone already buzzing with messages. Elma is still waiting. They're reducing his sedation, Shauna says. Tonight. Elma's eyes widen. And her? Banned from the building. Elma exhales, a sound caught between relief and disbelief. Thank you. Shauna sits down, her expression serious. Don't thank me yet. If this goes wrong, we're both finished. Then it better go right. That night, Dr. Langston enters room 407 with 2 nurses. Caleb hears the change immediately, the adjustment of the quiet murmur of instructions. He feels the medication shift, the fog beginning to lift just slightly. We're reducing sedation gradually, Dr. Langston says, speaking as if Caleb might hear. If you're aware, Mr. Rourke will know soon. The nurses monitor the equipment. Dr. Langston watches the screens, his expression intent. Hours pass. Caleb feels his mind sharpening, the edges of awareness becoming clearer. He still can't move. Can't open his eyes. But the distance between thought and action is narrowing. Near dawn, his right hand twitches. Just once. Barely perceptible. But the nurse sees it. "Doctor," she says urgently. Dr. Langston moves closer, watching. "Do it again, Mr. Rourke. If you can hear me, move your hand." Caleb focuses every ounce of will into his fingers. They twitch again. Stronger this time. Dr. Langston exhales sharply. "Get imaging." "No." "And page Shauna Hayes." The nurse rushes out. Dr. Langston stays, leaning close. "We see you," he says quietly. "We see you." Caleb's pulse spikes, not from fear this time. From relief. Across town, Maribel's phone buzzes. She's in her apartment, drinking wine, reviewing paperwork Jerome sent over. She glances at the screen. Sees the hospital number. Ignores it. It buzzes again. A text this time. "Your access has been revoked. Do not attempt to visit." Maribel stares at the message, her wine glass frozen halfway to her lips. Then she dials Jerome. "We have a problem," she says the moment he answers. "I know," Jerome replies, his voice tight. "I just got a call from the hospital's legal team. They're opening an investigation." "Into what?" "Into you." Maribel's hand tightens around her phone. "How is that possible?" "I don't know. But someone talked. And someone listened." The line goes silent. Maribel sets down her wine glass, her mind racing. 12 days. She was 12 days away. And now everything is collapsing. Caleb's eyes open at 6:47 a.m. The light is harsh, clinical, burning after 18 days of darkness. He blinks slowly, his vision blurring before sharpening into focus. The ceiling tiles. The monitor. The four-pole. He's awake. Dr. Langston leans into view, his expression cautious but relieved. "Mr. Rourke, can you hear me?" Caleb tries to speak. His throat is raw, his voice trapped behind the breathing tube still lodged in his airway. He manages a sound, half groan, half confirmation. "Don't try to talk yet," Dr. Langston says. "We're going to remove the tube. It'll be uncomfortable, but it'll be quick." Two nurses move efficiently, positioning equipment. Caleb feels the tube slide free, the sensation violating and necessary all at once. He coughs, gasping as his lungs remember how to work independently. "Easy," Dr. Langston says. "Take your time." Caleb's first full breath feels like resurrection. His second breath comes with a single word. "Elma." Dr. Langston blinks. "I'm sorry?" "Elma," Caleb repeats, his voice hoarse but clear. "The cleaner. I need to see her." Dr. Langston exchanges a glance with the nurses. "Mr. Rourke, we need to run tests first. Make sure." "Now," Caleb interrupts. "Please." There's something in his tone, not a request. A necessity. Dr. Langston hesitates, then nods. "I'll see what I can do." Within an hour, Elma is escorted to room 407 by Shauna Hayes. Elma stops in the doorway, her hand covering her mouth. Caleb is sitting up slightly, still pale and weak, but unmistakably awake. His eyes find hers immediately. "You came back," he says, his voice rough. Elma walks slowly to his bedside, tears streaming down her face. "I told you I would." Caleb reaches for her hand. She takes it, her grip steady despite the trembling. "You saved my life," he says. Elma shakes her head. "You saved your own life." "I just refuse to look away." Shauna Hayes stands near the door, documenting the interaction on her tablet. "This moment will be included in the official report. Evidence that someone cared when the system didn't." "Ms. Knox has been trying to reach you," Shauna says carefully. "We've blocked her access, but she's retained legal representation." Caleb's expression hardens. "I don't want to see her." "Understood. But you'll need your own attorney. There are complications." Caleb nods slowly. "I know. I heard everything." Shauna's eyebrows lift. "Everything?" "Every word. Every visit. Every phone call." He looks at Elma. "Including the night you reported her." Elma squeezes his hand. "I didn't know if you could really hear me." "I could. And you were the only one who acted like I mattered." Shauna clears her throat. "Mr. Rourke, we'll need a formal statement when you're able. About what you heard, what you experienced. It'll be part of the investigation." "I'll give you everything," Caleb says. "But first, I need to make a phone call." 2 hours later, Caleb's attorney, A woman named Simone Vaughn arrives with a briefcase and a legal team. She's sharp, efficient, and has a reputation for dismantling corporate fraud cases. She listens as Caleb recounts every conversation he overheard. Every detail. Every threat. This is attempted incapacitation for financial gain, Simone says, taking notes. Possibly conspiracy. We'll need the hospital's cooperation for the audio evidence. You'll have it, Shauna confirms from the doorway. Simone looks at Caleb. Your fiancé's legal team will argue you were unconscious and couldn't have heard these things. That your memory is unreliable due to trauma and medication. Then we prove I was aware, Caleb says. Medical records. Brain scans. Dr. Langston's notes. It's all there. Simone nods. We'll build the case. But I need you to understand, this will be public. Your relationship. Your company. Your personal life. All of it. Caleb doesn't hesitate. I don't care. She needs to be stopped. Simone closes her briefcase. Then let's get to work. Over the next 3 days, Caleb undergoes cognitive assessments, memory tests, and neurological evaluations. Every result confirms the same thing. He was aware. Trapped but aware. Dr. Langston's testimony is damning. The delays in reducing sedation. The requests from Maribel that contradicted medical judgment. The patterns that, in hindsight, form a clear picture. Maribel's lawyer, Jerome Hastings, tries to spin it. Calls it a misunderstanding. A fiancé advocating for caution in a man she loved. But the audio recording destroys that narrative. The hospital board votes to cooperate fully with law enforcement. The district attorney's office opens a formal investigation. Maribel is questioned. Then arrested. The news breaks within hours. On the 5th day after waking, Caleb asks to see Elma again. She arrives during her lunch break, still wearing her work uniform from the different wing where they reassigned her. She sits in the same chair she occupied all those nights, her hands folded in her lap. They're saying I'm a hero, she says quietly. People I've worked with for years suddenly know my name. You are a hero, Caleb replies. Elma shakes her head. I just did what was right. That's not heroic. That's just human. Caleb smiles faintly. Most people don't do what's right when it's inconvenient. You did. That matters. Elma looks at him, her expression serious. What are you going to do now? When you leave here? Caleb is quiet for a moment. I'm going to change things. The way my company operates. The way we treat people. Starting with people like you. People like me? People who keep the world running while everyone else pretends they don't exist. Elma's eyes glisten. That's a big promise. I know, but I have time now. Time I wasn't supposed to have. He looks at her. Thanks to you. Elma stands, preparing to leave. Caleb stops her. One more thing, he says. I'm creating a new advisory position in my company. Someone who reports directly to me. Someone who tells me the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Elma raises an eyebrow. And who would that be? You. If you'll take it. Elma stares at him. I'm a cleaner, Mr. Rourke. I don't know anything about running a company. You know about people. That's more valuable than any business degree. Elma sits back down slowly, processing. You're serious. Completely. She's quiet for a long moment. Then she nods. I'll think about it. Caleb smiles. That's all I ask. Elma leaves and Caleb sits alone in the hospital room, watching the sunlight stream through the window. For the first time in years he feels awake. Truly awake. If you are still watching, comment how you feel about all that has happened and remember to subscribe so you won't miss stories like this. The auditorium holds 3,000 people. Every seat is filled. Employees from every department, every level, every corner of the company Caleb built over 15 years. The stage is simple. No elaborate setup, no flashy graphics. Just a podium, a microphone, and a man who wasn't supposed to be standing. Caleb walks out to thunderous applause. He's thinner than he was before the crash. His movements are slower, more deliberate. But his eyes are clear, focused, alive in a way they haven't been in years. The applause continues for 30 seconds. Then silence settles as Caleb grips the podium. I wasn't supposed to be here, he begins, his voice steady. 18 days ago I was in a hospital bed. Unconscious according to every report. Incapacitated according to the paperwork being filed. Finished according to the people who thought they could erase me. The room is so quiet you can hear the air conditioning hum. But I was awake, Caleb continues. I heard everything. Every conversation. Every lie. Every moment people thought I couldn't see them for who they really were. He pauses, letting the weight of that settle. And what I learned in those 18 days changed everything. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Caleb scans the room, his gaze landing on familiar faces. Executives who sent flowers. Board members who positioned for control. Assistants who wrote careful emails. I built this company on one principle, Caleb says. Efficiency. Results. Performance. And I believe that was enough. That if we delivered value, everything else would follow. He shakes his head slowly. I was wrong. The murmurs grow louder. Caleb raises a hand and silence returns. Efficiency without humanity is just machinery. Results without care are just numbers. Performance without dignity is just exploitation. His voice hardens. And I've spent 15 years running a machine that forgot it was built by people. He steps away from the podium, moving to the edge of the stage. In that hospital, the person who saved my life wasn't a doctor. Wasn't a lawyer. Wasn't anyone on the payroll of this company. He looks toward the side entrance. It was a woman who cleaned floors at night. A woman most of you have never seen. A woman this company paid minimum wage to and called expendable. The side door opens. Elma walks out slowly, visibly uncomfortable with the attention. She's wearing the same worn coat she had on the night she snuck into Caleb's room. Her hands are clasped in front of her, her posture uncertain. Caleb extends a hand. She takes it and he guides her to the center of the stage. This is Elma Rios, Caleb says, his voice carrying through the auditorium. She worked the night shift in the ICU wing. She spoke to me when no one else did. She believed I was aware when every expert said I wasn't. And she risked her job, her livelihood, to report what she heard. Elma looks at the floor, overwhelmed. Caleb gently lifts her chin. She saved my life, he says. Not because she had power. Not because she had resources. But because she had integrity. The applause starts slowly, then builds. People stand. The ovation lasts a full minute. Caleb waits for it to die down before continuing. Effective immediately, I'm restructuring this company, he announces. Every outsourced contract for cleaning, maintenance, security, and support staff is being terminated. Not because those workers failed, but because we failed them. The room goes still. Starting next quarter, all support staff will be brought in-house. Full employment, full benefits, healthcare, retirement, equity participation. He pauses. Because the people who keep this place running deserve more than a contract. They deserve respect. Whispers spread through the crowd. Some executives exchange uncertain glances. Others nod slowly, processing. I'm also creating a new position, Caleb continues. Chief People Officer. Someone who reports directly to me. Someone whose job is to tell me the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. He turns to Elma. Ms. Rios has agreed to take that role. Elma's eyes widen. She clearly didn't expect him to announce it publicly. But Caleb nods at her and she straightens her shoulders, accepting the reality. The applause returns, louder this time. Genuine. Caleb returns to the podium. I know some of you are concerned about cost, about margins, about shareholder value. His tone sharpens. Let me be clear. Profitability that depends on exploitation isn't sustainable. It's theft. And I won't run a company built on theft anymore. He lets that land. If you can't support this direction, I respect that. But you won't be part of this company moving forward. He scans the room. We're not just changing policy. We're changing culture. And that starts today. The auditorium erupts. Not everyone is clapping. Some executives remain seated, arms crossed. But the majority, especially those in the back rows, the support staff invited to attend, are on their feet. Caleb steps back, letting Elma take the microphone. She hesitates, then leans forward. I don't have a speech prepared, she says, her voice soft but clear. I just want to say this. I've spent my whole life being invisible. And I thought that was just the way things were. That some people matter and some people don't. She looks at Caleb, then back at the crowd. But Mr. Rourke taught me something. You're only invisible if people choose not to see you. And the moment someone chooses to look, everything changes. The applause is deafening. Caleb walks Elma off the stage as the company-wide meeting dissolves into conversations. Executives approach cautiously, some with congratulations, others with questions thinly veiling concern. Caleb fields them all with the same response. If you have issues, schedule time with Ms. Rios. She's in charge of people now. Later that afternoon, Caleb sits in his office. The first time he's been back since the crash. The space feels different, colder, more sterile than he remembered. His assistant, Kendra, knocks softly. The board wants a meeting, she says. They're concerned about the financial projections. Caleb doesn't look up from the window. Tell them I'll meet next week, after I've reviewed everything. Kendra hesitates. They're pushing for tomorrow. Next week, Caleb repeats firmly. Kendra nods and leaves. Caleb's phone buzzes. A message from his attorney, Simone Vaughn. Maribel's trial date is set. 3 months. They're offering a plea deal. Caleb texts back, no deals. Simone responds immediately, understood. Caleb sets his phone down and stares out at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, Maribel is preparing her defense. Somewhere out there, journalists are writing stories about the billionaire who woke up just in time. Somewhere out there, people are debating whether his restructuring plan is genius or suicide. He doesn't care. For the first time in his life, Caleb Rourke isn't building for profit. He's building for purpose. And the difference feels like oxygen. 3 months later, the courtroom is packed. Maribel Knox sits at the defense table, her posture perfect, her expression composed. She's wearing a navy suit, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back in a way that suggests both professionalism and vulnerability. Her legal team flanks her, 4 attorneys, all expensive, all focused. Caleb sits in the gallery 3 rows back. Elma is beside him, her hands folded in her lap. Simone Vaughn sits in front, ready to testify if needed. The prosecution presents its case methodically. The audio recording. The hospital logs. Dr. Langston's testimony about the delayed sedation reduction. The pattern of visits timed to avoid oversight. Maribel's attorneys argue interpretation. They claim she was advocating for caution, not manipulation. That her words were taken out of context. That a man emerging from trauma cannot reliably recall conversations. But the evidence is overwhelming. The jury deliberates for 6 hours. When they return, the verdict is unanimous. Guilty on 2 counts. Conspiracy to commit fraud and attempted financial exploitation of an incapacitated person. Maribel's composure finally cracks. Her hands tremble as the judge reads the sentencing guidelines. 3 to 5 years. Restitution. Permanent restraining order. She doesn't look at Caleb as they lead her out. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. Caleb offers a single statement. This case was never about revenge. It was about accountability. And about making sure people who can't speak for themselves are still heard. He doesn't take questions. Just walks to the car where Elma is waiting. You okay? She asks as they drive away. Caleb nods. I am. They ride in silence for a while. Then Elma speaks again. What now? Caleb looks out the window at the city moving past. Now we keep building. 6 months after the trial, the company releases its annual report. Profit margins are down 3%. Employee retention is up 47%. Turnover in support staff roles has dropped to nearly 0. Applications for positions have tripled. The board is divided. Half see the long-term value. Half see short-term loss and want course correction. Caleb holds firm. In the break room of the company's headquarters, a janitor named Darnell Williams takes his lunch break. He's been with the company for 2 months, hired under the new employment structure. Full benefits, real pay, respect. He's talking to a coworker about his daughter's college acceptance letter when Caleb walks in. Darnell starts to stand, but Caleb waves him off. Congratulations, Caleb says, having overheard. Where's she going? Howard University, Darnell replies, pride evident in his voice. Full ride. Caleb smiles. That's incredible. You must be proud. I am. Never thought I'd be able to help her this much. But with this job, with the stability... Darnell trails off, emotion catching in his throat. It changed things for us. Caleb nods. That's what it's supposed to do. He leaves the break room and Darnell turns to his coworker. That man almost died, Darnell says quietly. And he came back different. Different how? Better. In her new office on the executive floor, Elma reviews employee feedback surveys. She's been in the role for 8 months now, and the adjustment hasn't been easy. She's faced skepticism, resistance, and outright hostility from people who don't believe someone like her belongs in leadership. But she's also seen change. Policies revised. Voices heard. People promoted who would have been overlooked before. She's reading a message from a single mother in the shipping department, thanking her for the new childcare subsidy program, when Caleb knocks on her open door. Busy? He asks. Always, Elma replies, smiling. But come in. Caleb sits across from her. I wanted to thank you for everything you've done here. Elma shakes her head. You gave me this opportunity. I'm just trying not to mess it up. You're not messing it up. You're redefining it. They sit in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Caleb speaks again. I've been thinking about the crash, he says quietly. About that night. Elma listens. The police report said it was an accident. Hydroplaning. Weather conditions. Driver error. He pauses. But the more I think about it, the more I wonder if someone wanted me in that car. On that road. At that exact time. Elma's expression shifts. You think it was planned? I don't know. But Maribel knew my schedule. She knew I'd be driving that route. And she had access to a lot of people who owed her favors. Did you tell the police? I mentioned it. They said there's no evidence. That I'm reading too much into coincidence. He looks at Elma. But I can't shake it. Elma leans forward. Then don't. If something feels wrong, trust that. Caleb nods slowly. Maybe I will. 1 year after the crash, Caleb stands on the same stage where he announced the restructuring. This time, the auditorium is filled with media, investors, and employees. He's about to unveil the company's new 10-year plan. One focused on sustainable growth, ethical labor practices, and community investment. But before he begins, he tells a story. He tells them about the 18 days he spent awake but silent. About the woman who refused to look away. About the moment he realized survival wasn't enough. That the second chance he'd been given required something more. I used to think success was measured in revenue, Caleb says. In market share. In how much you could accumulate before you died. He pauses. But lying in that hospital bed, unable to move or speak, I learned something. Success isn't what you build. It's who you become while building it. And if you become someone people fear instead of respect, someone they tolerate instead of trust, then you've failed. No matter how much money you make. The room is silent. I almost lost everything, Caleb continues. My company. My life. My chance to do something that matters. And the only reason I'm still here is because one person decided my life had value. Even when I couldn't prove it. He looks directly at the camera broadcasting the event. So here's my question for anyone watching. Who are you ignoring? Who are you walking past? Who have you decided doesn't matter because they don't have power or status or wealth? He lets the question hang. Because I promise you, someone you've overlooked is the person who'll change your life. If you're willing to see them. The applause starts slowly. Then builds. Then becomes something else entirely. Recognition, maybe. Or conviction. Caleb steps off the stage and Elma meets him in the wings. That was good, she says. It was true, Caleb replies. They walk together toward the exit, past employees and investors and reporters calling his name. And for the first time in a long time, Caleb Rourke feels like he's exactly where he's supposed to be. Not at the top. But beside the people who held him up when he couldn't stand. The screen fades, but the question lingers in the air, echoing long after the story ends. How many lives could change if we simply chose to see the people we've been trained to ignore? How many truths have we missed because we refuse to listen to voices without power? And how many second chances are we wasting by clinging to the same broken definitions of success? Caleb Rourke woke up. But the real question is, will you? If this story moved you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another story that inspires change. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Let's build a community where every story matters and every person is seen.